Stephanie O'Brien Martin. Thank you for checking in with Breaking Free and Owning Me, where I, the coach the callers through various issues they want help working through, whether it be a goal, a block, maybe a habit that they noticed is getting in their way, just getting over themselves, getting over fears, changing mindsets, whatever it is. I'm here to help you live authentically and purposefully so that you can thrive in this precious life that we are given to live to the full here on earth. Today's caller is Donntae. I actually have a history with working with him before, and he is currently looking for a job. So if you are out there who you have a goal, like maybe looking for a job or successfully growing a business and hitting certain goals or numbers, and you're feeling really discouraged because you haven't been able to do that successfully, this is going to be a really good call for you to listen in on. As I coach Donntae, we uncover some deeper things that may be getting in the way of him successfully getting what it is that he wants. So without further delay, listen to the call on how to overcome job discouragement or overall discouragement when you don't get a goal fulfilled. Welcome to the show, Donntae. What's your question?
Hello. Thanks for having me. My question is, how can I move past some of the feelings of kind of inadequacy or imposter syndrome that I'm feeling to help me get some closure or resolution in my job search right now?
Okay. How long have you been looking for work?
I've been looking since I left my last manufacturing role 9 months ago. And so I've been a little bit selective in the sense that I didn't want to just jump into the first thing that came up, but I have been continuously looking over that time and have submitted lots and lots of applications.
Okay. So tell me, what is your current process of job search?
So right now, I start by using web-based tools, the LinkedIn's job search tools, or Glassdoor or Indeed, to identify companies and then roles within those companies that fit my skill set and the type of work that I want to move into. So manufacturing engineering, for example. So then I'm looking at and say, okay, do the job descriptions match what I can do and what I want to do going forward?
Okay. And are you getting any traction with that? Excuse me, like with interviews, connections, networking?
No, I haven't been getting any traction going that route. I did recently start another tactic of just reaching out to hiring managers and recruiters directly, saying, hey, here's an introduction, here's my background, this is what I'm looking for. If you have anything that fits, let's talk. And I have gotten more traction that way than using primarily the electronic resources.
Okay. So how can you do more of that?
I still use the electronic resources for scouting purposes, if you will, to get an idea on companies or the types of companies that might be hiring for certain roles. And then from there, I could use that to go into look for the job titles of like direct managers, engineering manager or manufacturing manager or something. Or if I can't find that, then I could look for human resources representatives for the company. It's the hiring managers and the HR managers tend to seem like they kind of work side by side as far as getting candidates in and moving them through the process.
Yeah. So are you calling them? or emailing them? How are you contacting them?
Email.
Okay. And has it led to interviews?
Most of the time, no. I've got one interview coming up with a recruiter that I reached out to and connected with within the last couple of months. And recently he posted a job that fits pretty much exactly what I'm looking for. And so we talked, we both seem like it's going to be a good fit. And I do have an interview coming up. So that's a little bit of traction that I'm getting, but on the other, I haven't gotten as much.
Okay. So why did you leave your last job? What was going on with that one?
Yeah, so I had been there almost 5 years, and I learned a lot. It got me exposed to a side of manufacturing that I didn't have a lot of experience in at that time, and I met some people in the industry. It was a good opportunity for me. Unfortunately, their mix of product and business operations were pretty well established, and kind of some of their processes and things weren't advancing in areas that I wanted to advance myself in. I didn't see that happening. And so I sat down and talked with the engineering manager and the owner and explained to them where I was at and what I was looking for, and decided to move on. Additionally, I was working for my father-in-law, and it became evident that after about 5 years, it was time for me to move on and spread my wings and try something else.
Okay. It became evident. What do you mean by that?
I think, well, one, I was one of the youngest members on the team. So I was, fairly recently out of college. I had some experience in other companies, a much larger company, and kind of some of their processes and as far as documenting and advancing methodologies and things like that. And so I came in and I wanted to do a lot of that at this company, which is a very small company, 25 people or so. And because they hadn't had a lot of experience with that, I think there was a challenge getting them up to speed with those ideas. Now, there was some wins, so don't get me wrong. We got a lot of stuff done there, but at the end of the day, like, for example, one of the things that I'm interested in pursuing is a Lean Six Sigma certification. And I had pitched the idea of working along those lines to improve processes and document it and offer some kind of incentive to the team to help that process along. Justified based on whatever the return was on the investment of the change that we made. And they said, well, we kind of expect people to just do that anyway, and so you're going to have a hard time convincing me any incentive program is going to be a good idea. And in that situation, it kind of left me frustrated because on the one hand, I'm being told, yeah, we like hearing new ideas and new methodologies and ways to approach things. And on the other side, you say, well, yeah, that's not something I'm interested in. So those kinds of things left me frustrated. But
how often does that happen?
I'm sorry?
How often does that happen in like your life in general? Where one hand they hear you, validate you, confirm that it's great, and then the other they're like, nope, not going to do it.
Well, I mean, I think honestly it happens a lot, but there are a lot of times that you pitch an idea to someone and they need time to think it over and really for it to sink in. Mm-hmm. And so in general, it's not something that I'm concerned about because I recognize that. It's like with my kids, it's like, hey, pick up after yourself and you won't have to spend the weekend cleaning your room. And they don't do it, and then they have to clean their room, and then one day something just clicks and they say, hey, I'm going to pick this up right now, and then I don't have to do it later.
Yeah. Okay. So are you finding this pattern in your interviews? conversations with people?
Not that I've recognized.
Okay.
I mean, the interviews that I've had and the point that I've gotten to in their interviews, I've tried to ask a lot of questions about how they handle ideas and suggestions from the team. Even going so far as to say, oh, what was the last project or idea that one of your team members had that was implemented, and what did that implementation look like? And that's one of those things that I've found. I think you can kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, because the companies that talk about always wanting to improve but don't have a lot of examples of empowering their people to improve in those ways, it's really just kind of like a sign on the wall that people pass. And the other companies are like, oh, hey, so-and-so in purchasing or so-and-so in engineering had this idea, and we got a team together and brainstormed, and we put it in place within, 2 or 6 weeks or whatever. And those have been the promising interviews. And so,
yeah. Okay. So how often do you get what you really, really want? Like, when was the last time like a very deep desire was fulfilled?
I can't remember. I mean, yeah, I can't think of a time off the top of my head right now.
Okay. And how does that feel? Like, how do you feel?
It leaves me curious as to why I haven't pursued some of those things that I wanted more or worked harder. I'm going to say harder, because that implies that I didn't work hard before. Why I haven't pursued them more vigorously, or I haven't done things differently or changed my approach to get there.
Do you believe you can get what you want?
Yeah, in general.
In general? What does that mean in general?
I mean, it's kind of like that's my paradigm. Yes, I do believe that I can get what I want, and I think there are some things where you could go into it and say, "Hey, I want to be president." Well, that's probably a possibility, but there's a lot of steps to get there, and for me, at least, that wouldn't be a path that I would want to take. So.
Okay. So like, a lot of people will have like, I like the idea of this, but then when they look at how much work it takes to bring that about, they're like, never mind. I don't want it that bad, or I don't think it's worth the effort.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's one of those things that in some cases you don't figure out until you decide to pursue something, and then you either research it or you start going about that, and you say, oh yeah, I thought I wanted this at the time, but it turns out that's not in line with where I want to be in my life or family, career, whatever.
Okay. So what is it that you really want career-wise?
Ultimately, my goal is to be self-employed and running my own business, not working for someone else.
Okay. And okay, so that's ultimately, what are you doing now to help align yourself with that and actually get there?
So since I left my last job, I want to work in the manufacturing industry. Since I left my last job in manufacturing and I've been working in construction, I haven't been focusing on that as much. Right now, what I'm doing is working on getting back into the manufacturing industry to further grow my experience, gain more connections, and provide me the financial resources to be able to go out on my own eventually.
Okay. Do you have a line of when enough is enough? Like, when is it going to be enough information?
No, I don't. I haven't defined that.
Or when is it going to be enough skill development or enough connections or enough of blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, I haven't. No, I don't have that defined.
Okay. Well, I want to encourage you to have that defined
Thought you might.
so that you can get what you want. Ultimately, what you want, I believe it's possible if you allow yourself to get there. That's the key. If you allow yourself to get there. And that's one of the things is having a line. When is enough? When is enough enough?
So it sounds like you may be suggesting that it's possible that I'm my own worst enemy. I'm kind of standing in my own way.
That is often the case for almost every one of us.
Okay.
How do you feel with that?
I mean, I think that's good to know. It's encouraging, I'll say that, because, you know, one of the things that I've recognized about myself, like when I had my DISC assessment done, and that pretty much confirmed that I'm a very analytical and very deliberate person. And, you know, I have a friend who takes the approach of shoot, aim, ready. And my approach in a lot of cases has been ready, 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 and I don't get to the aim and shoot stage. So I can see that being valid feedback for me.
Okay. And then we get to the awareness, and then we get the joy of implementation.
Yes.
And putting what we know into action. So your question originally was it like, overcoming feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt or something to that?
Yeah, imposter syndrome, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. Okay.
So I guess to that end, for me, even though I can sit back and say, yes, I acknowledge that I'm an intelligent person. Yes, I acknowledge that I'm a capable person. Yes, I'm resourceful, I'm creative, et cetera, et cetera. There still seems to be something that is keeping me from moving from thinking to doing, I guess, to simplify it.
Okay.
The information gathering stage to the implementation stage.
What are you afraid of?
I don't know. What is any business owner afraid of? Failing, looking like a fool, losing the trust of the people that you love, your customers, potential customers, or your audience, etc.
And what does all of that mean?
I don't know. Maybe some self-conscious kind of a thing.
Well, let's walk through this. If I fail, that means
I didn't get it right that time.
okay. Is that scary?
In some cases it is, because, like, you know, I'm married, I have 5 kids, and so I think about the repercussions of, in this case, admittedly, the extreme repercussions of not getting something right and letting them down, you know. And so,
How would you let them down?
well, if I wasn't able to provide for them in some way.
Okay. So it's a provider thing. So it's not if I didn't get it right, it's if I can't provide.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're properly identifying the fears. So we know like the bigger reason. Have you ever played the worst case scenario game?
No, I don't believe so.
So if what you're afraid of happens, what did you say? So if you take risks, let people down, you can't provide, then what happens?
Well, in an extreme worst case scenario, my family might lose confidence in me and not trust in my ability to care for them. I could lose them ultimately. That's pretty extreme though.
Okay. And does any of that, when you say it out loud, feel true?
No, not at all.
Yet, do you feel how when you don't bring light to it, how powerful that is and how gripping it is?
Yes, yeah, I do.
Okay. So, that's a great exercise to do when you have a hard time moving forward and pulling the trigger, taking risks, going after what it is that you really want, giving yourself permission to go after what you really want rather than what seems logical and practical and makes sense, is play that out, and you'll begin seeing like, okay, well, that's just ridiculous. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, my kids probably won't lose confidence in me. Like, because pursuing your dreams and going after what it is that you really want and being courageous and taking those steps, that's great modeling. And that's even if it doesn't work out exactly the way you wanted it to, I do find it unlikely that because you were courageous and took these steps that they would think that. I think maybe the losing confidence in you is more of like a character or thing, you know, like how you, the type of father you are and how you parent, which, you know, you're a good father, you know, you're a good parent. You do the best that you can. And how are you feeling? What's going on in your mind?
No, I'm good. I'm just listening to.
I'm just like observing your face here, so I'm like
Yeah.
wanting to check in. What's happening?
Yeah. No, I think that that's a good exercise, especially when I get into those situations to think about things. Okay, what's the worst that could happen, and be realistic about it and say, is that likely to happen? And then maybe back it out and say, what's the realistic worst that could happen? And probably getting it to the point where I match whatever action I need to take with my level of being okay with the risk at that level, and then just going for it, seeing what happens would be good.
So how does this fear play out in your your job search?
I think in some cases it has probably kept me from applying to a job that seemed really interesting or ideal, or kept me from applying to it for so long that the online listing expired, and then I didn't have time to go and do the necessary research to find hiring managers and all that stuff. And so sometimes I feel like part of that is rooted in the fact that I've submitted hundreds of job applications and I've had a handful of interviews at best. And so, I mean, it kind of makes you think, okay, what's one more application going to do? You know, and not that that's the right way to look at it, but that's the way that I feel about the job search right now. Like, a lot of the companies that I'm targeting are very large companies that service other large manufacturing companies, the government, aerospace, things like that. And almost all of them use these online application systems, which use these internet tools to screen your resume and things like that. And I mean, something as simple as a misplaced comma or a missing line on your address can get your resume kicked out. And these are things that I've learned, but there isn't any way for you to know how their system is set up to get past those screens and those filters.
Okay.
And that leaves me frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Not just me, a lot of candidates. So.
What'd you say?
Not just me, a lot of candidates.
Right. And I'm sure you've also learned that in your research that the online, relying solely on applying online is not effective.
Yeah, that's pretty much the least ideal option at this point, it seems like.
Mm-hmm. And I know you know that.
Yeah.
So, and you've also ventured out into being a little bit more creative in finding a way to bring your name on top of people's mind. And that gave the most feedback and traction, maybe not exactly landing, but that at least gave you enough information to know that that's a lot more effective than the black hole of internet applications.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So what's going on? What's the resistance behind getting out there in front of people?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like I feel frustrated. I feel let down, which to me is pretty much kind of like an internal thing. And I know that I can't count on anyone else to regulate my feelings or help me out in those areas. But it leaves me wondering sometimes how much effort I should put in, like if it's even worth it, I guess you could say. Because as you mentioned, I did reach out to some hiring managers directly in a cold calling essentially. And I did get some feedback from them, and some of them I didn't get feedback from, and some of them say, well, you need to use the online portal. And it's really funny because some of these are the same companies that I see being interviewed or posting online articles about the talent shortage in manufacturing and not being able to find qualified candidates. And it's an interesting contradiction, it seems like. So It makes me wonder if it's even worth pursuing in that situation.
Those companies?
Right.
Okay. So if it's not in alignment with the culture that you want, I know we've worked before together, and I know that I had you write your list of like what ideal qualities of a company or a culture would look like.
Right.
Okay. So if there's companies that right out of the gate, you're seeing them exhibit things that are not on that list, like dating, like why would you want to keep pursuing something when the red flags are all there, right?
Yeah, and in that case, I haven't been pursuing it. So, for example, I told you one of the things I was looking at was relocating, and there's two companies in particular that come to the top of mind that have been posting the same position over and over and over again. And so that makes me wonder, A, what their culture is like if people are constantly leaving, or if they're just relisting the positions, waiting for the purple unicorn to pop through, and they're going to keep the position open for years and years. And so I haven't pursued companies like that. But at the same time, when so many of the companies that are in the industry that I'm looking at use these kinds of tools, that's what makes me wonder if it's even worth it, because I haven't found an effective way to get past that stage. How's that?
Okay, I like that you got yourself. Thank you for correcting the I can't language. And so far, at this moment, you haven't found an effective way to get around it.
Right.
So you've made calls, or
Yes.
at least not made calls, you've emailed. And if you're looking for relocation, that
I'm open to it. Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah, that requires more of putting yourself out there and building relationships or connections and building that trust that way, which is risky.
Yes.
It feels risky.
Yes, it does.
And so it's safer to be on the computer, safe in your home or library, just typing online.
It definitely is, but it's not. That hasn't worked. So.
Okay.
And in all honesty, if I look at it from a different perspective, there's not really any difference in not hearing back from an online electronic submission versus not hearing back from a telephone call or an email or a hard copy resume that I sent in the mail. And in that case, you just move on again. But the lack of feedback still doesn't leave me any less frustrated.
Yes, I know you value feedback because you value that information so much, so you can tweak it and be better.
Yes.
And I love that. It's all that improvement. That's that desire to the standard of excellence. It's a beautiful trait, but if we overuse that, it becomes crippling and turns into perfectionism and paralyzation of, because I don't have adequate information that I feel is comfortable, I'm not moving forward.
Okay, so
what, going back to what's enough for you?
it sounds like I need to adjust my paradigm of what's enough, and I don't know. I mean, going the other end of the spectrum and saying, I'm just gonna throw caution to the wind and take the seed scattering approach to dispersing my resume doesn't seem like it would be ideal either. It seems like it would water down my brand, if you will, by just for everything.
Then I have a hard time seeing that you would ever get to that extreme. I mean, do you feel like you would ever operate in that extreme? Is that even something that's a realistic thing to even think you would do?
There are times where I certainly feel that way, but no, I don't know. I don't think that would be the case.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
But so on that point, if we're looking at this as a reframing of my job search, for example, I say, okay, no more electronic submissions unless I've talked to a hiring manager and they're like, oh, hey, we need your resume in our system and we'll get you scheduled for an interview. But I haven't got, I guess, how do I say this?
You like information, right?
Yeah.
In the conversations, are you getting the information of, excellent, are you the person that I would follow up with to confirm you received this?
Yes, I have been asking that.
Okay.
And I asked, would I expect a follow-up from you? And they'll say yes or no. If not, it's so-and-so. Okay, what timeline should I expect to follow up on? And then, I back it out from there. Okay, if they don't follow up, I'll send or call and make a gentle inquiry about the status. And
good.
Yeah, we're still working on it, or I get the voicemail or something. And so, I mean, and that, at least at that point, I've gotten further into the process that I know that there's something there. And so I'm okay with that. And at that point, it's like, okay, well, either they're going to get back to me or they're not. And I can't dedicate that much time to this one particular role or two roles or whatever.
Okay. Because you've made progress and it's more of an empowered approach that you're taking. You're going to take this as far, and then when it's left in their court, you at least have a peace knowing that you really have taken that as far as you possibly could at this stage.
Right.
And it's more fulfilling or just gratifying.
Yeah, that certainly is, because at least I know that I in that situation, I feel like I've done everything I can to present myself for the particular position that I've applied to. In the situations where I hear nothing back, it leaves me wondering if there's some minuscule thing that I forgot to do or that I missed out on that could have helped me get to that next stage. And I mean, talking with you today, it seems like I've been spending a lot of energy worrying about those things when at the end of the day, not only are they out of my control, but in all likelihood, it's probable that I did everything that I could to get to that point.
Uh-huh.
I just didn't get confirmation of that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Sometimes there's like nothing else we can do. And that what we've done is enough.
Yeah.
So I want to circle back because we're closing in time here.
Yep.
I want to encourage you to believe in you and to believe that you can get what you actually want.
Okay.
Because here is another thing that I think, and I want you to just ponder on this. This will take you some maybe time to reflect on. Let this sink in. I have a hunch that you don't believe that you can get what you want. Ultimately and even immediately, like short term, like job. And that hugely affects the outcomes of what you get, because you really do get what you believe.
Okay.
And if you believe that you can't / won't get what you want, congratulations, your faith has given you that. So just want to check in with you on that. This is like how job searches go. Have you heard me give the trick-or-treating example?
No.
Okay. So kids dressing up in a costume when it's really cold on Halloween, at least in Michigan. I mean, the reason they get so excited is I don't think it's because of the costume and walking out in the cold. It's because they get candy. They get something out of doing all of that. If there was no candy involved or any type of reward, how many people do you think will dress up in costumes walking around?
Not very many.
Okay.
Certainly not kids.
And we question the sanity of those that are doing it. So consider a job search like trick-or-treating. The belief or reward is a job. But if you don't really believe that you can actually get the candy, you're not going to go and do what you need to do to go and get it. There's no reward there. You'll go through the motions, but the belief and drive behind it isn't going to be there.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are you right now?
I see some strong parallels in your trick-or-treat anecdote in my job search.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, if I'm being completely frank, I think that some of that has to do with my educational background, which is electrical, and the part of the industry that I want to go in, which is very mechanical. And the fact that I have heard a lot of feedback between when I graduated and right now in my job search about, oh, well, you don't have a engineering degree, or you don't have manufacturing experience. And I think some of that probably still weighs on me a little bit.
A little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it just a little, or is it a whole lot?
I think it depends on what exactly. There's different in different areas. I would say it certainly weighs on me a lot. In other areas, it weighs on me a little bit.
Okay.
Like on the software side or the interpersonal side, it doesn't even faze me because I worked in software for 6 years when I was in school in IT support, and I can pretty much go into any situation and look at their technology setup and understand how it works very quickly and start making suggestions for improvements if they're interested. On the mechanical side, no, I didn't take classes like statics and things like that, and so I don't understand the design of a beam and why this design is better than that design, but I understand mechanical concepts. And
Okay.
in situations like that, I haven't found very many people who are better than me at connecting all of those dots.
Okay. That feels pretty good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and I just need to be able to take that and sum it up on my resume.
Or you can expound on it in conversation or lead with that, and like you can always highlight that in the cover letter, or there's different ways.
Okay.
You can highlight that. Okay, so takeaways.
Okay, I'm taking some notes here, sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
What are your takeaways?
So I wrote a note here at the top of my page in big block letters. It says, "You are your own roadblock."
Uh,
I think that kind of sums up the conversation. So
okay.
someone else is waiting for the conference room.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. That's fine. That's good. So you are your own roadblock. And what are you going to do to move past that roadblock?
I have to start taking different action. Maybe I'll rent a bulldozer.
Okay.
No, I'm gonna, like on my resume, my cover letter, I'm gonna look at how to craft that information down into that, and then also, like you suggested before, I have been reaching out to some local networking groups, and we talked before. I'm a person of faith, and I was recently invited to join the Knights of Columbus. So that's one networking group that I joined recently, and I actually met some people that were involved in manufacturing on my first night there. So,
Yay.
yeah.
Well, look at that lovely gift, because you decided to step out of your comfort zone, and there you were with your candy. Trick or treat.
Yes.
So, okay. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you, supporting you. I know you have that room that somebody else needs.
Yes, unfortunately. I had a time block here today, so.
Yeah. Well,
So I will be in touch, and I will update you on the status of everything, and I'll go from there. And I have my other interview in about an hour and a half, and so.
good. Keep me posted.
I think it's gonna go well. Yeah. So.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, there you have it. That was my call with Donntae. And as you got to experience by viewing or listening to this call, one of the things that came up in the call, a big thing that came up, was that Donntae really, I was sensing that he really didn't believe that he could get what he wants. We uncovered the deeper beliefs going on behind him receiving a job that he actually wants. And if you have had a goal for a while that you haven't seen successfully met or fulfilled, it's very easy to fall into this deep place of discouragement and start agreeing with a story that you actually cannot have what you want, or the reason you haven't been able to successfully meet your goal is because you don't believe you actually can. You don't believe it exists. So I gave the analogy of trick-or-treating and talking about how if you don't believe that, like, if there's no reward, you're not going to do the search. So if you don't believe that what you want exists, and you're so afraid of repeating and getting what it is that you left, or that you're never going to get there, and that you're not qualified, or you don't have X, Y, and Z in place, then you're going to have a rather fruitless, unmotivated job search. You're not going to do the work that really gets you results. Or if you do, it's going to be more of a going through the motions, but the belief and resonance and alignment with really believing you deserve this and can have this will not be, you won't be flowing from that type of energy. You're kind of going to be flowing from a I hope so, but rather than I know so. So question and challenge your beliefs. Like, what do you really believe? And what is it that you really, really want? And then what comes up? So journal this out. Do a meditation and a journaling and a prayer session. Take some time, spend like 15, 20 minutes doing this to really, really reveal what the true deep belief is. Because your deep belief is hijacking all of the conscious thoughts and all of the actions and efforts you're taking, because your true deep belief isn't going to allow you to receive what it is that you want. Or if you do, it's not going to allow you to keep it. You're going to sabotage it because there's something deeper at work that's kind of hindering you really receiving and keeping what it is that you really want. So sit down, allow yourself to get very clear on what you want. Give yourself permission to dream, to play, to think big. Turn off the inner critic and all of these like judgments and resistance to reality, where you're being a prisoner to reality, and agreeing with all of these stories about why you can't have what it is that you want. And just allow yourself to just flow in that power and that dreaming stage. Allow yourself to feel it and give yourself permission to have it. And then pay attention to any type of triggers that are happening. Are you hearing voices from a parent or an authority figure who's telling you that's not possible because maybe it was an old boss, or maybe it's just society that tells you like, oh, you have to do this way and you can only have this that way. And see what happens. Well, some of that may be true, okay? Like if your dream is to become a brain surgeon, without going to school and getting proper training, it is probably highly unlikely that you'll become a brain surgeon without going through the action steps to become a brain surgeon. So there are, there is practical action steps to take, but belief, it starts with belief. Now, I feel like I need to warn some of you here. This kind of was really coming to me as I'm saying all of this, that this is not a ticket to entitlement. Entitlement and belief are, entitlement is the belief that you deserve everything without having to work for it. That's different, and I'm not talking about this, okay? This is for people that really need that boost and that encouragement and faith to believe and dream big and to give themselves permission to succeed and have what they want. This is not an invitation for those rooted in an entitlement mindset or a victim mindset that's constantly feeling like you're owed everything, that you deserve everything. Well, good things, yes, we are all deserving of good things. That doesn't mean it's a handout and something we don't work for and learn and train and develop in to receive. It doesn't mean it's just like handed to you and dropped into your lap. So I just felt like I had to warn some viewers on this, that this is not for those that battle entitlement mindsets. Now, maybe you do battle an entitlement mindset. Maybe you feel like you're owed everything because of all of these things that happen to you. Maybe you give in to victim mentality and self-pity parties, and you send those invitations out all of the time, and some people accept them and welcome that invitation. I don't. I reject pity party invitations and really encourage people to stop having those parties and to stop sending them out. So if you struggle with that and you'd like to be free from that, contact me at Stephanie@movedbypurpose.net. If you liked this episode, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe. Click that bell for notifications so you don't miss an episode. And stay in contact, leave comments. And if you're interested in being a caller, email Stephanie@movedbypurpose.net. Until next time, be brilliant, be bright, shine your light, live authentically, live on purpose, love every day. Talk to you all next time.